Okay, in this episode, we're going to start looking at putting a team together. So it happens to be the first Tuesday team list of the year. The teams for Las Vegas should be coming out about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So it's a really good time to be doing this. And for most of you, I'm going to be asking you to do things extremely backwards to the way you have been doing them. Okay. Now, the way most of you are building your teams is starting with the most expensive players and grabbing up the expensive big name players that you want, getting as many of them as you can. And then once you start coming to the back end, you're like trying to cram in anything you can just to make it all work. Okay. It's not a very good way of building a fantasy team. Now, if you've been watching all of our episodes, then you'll remember the episode on buying the shirts. Okay, and that's very much the principle I want to talk about here again, is the name we've all got $10 million to spend, and the winner is the guy who can buy the most points for $10 million. Now, if you and I were having a competition on who can buy the most shirts for $100 each, then the strategy is really easy. Go out and buy the cheapest shirts you can possibly find and keep buying the cheapest shirts you can possibly find. And if you do it better than the other guy, you'll have the most shirts. Okay. Now, we're not talking about quality of shirts. If you go to an op shop, you could score a Lacoste shirt in great condition for $1. So it's not necessarily the quality of the shirt, it's the cost of the shirt. Now it's the same here. What you want to do is focus on buying the cheapest points you can possibly get. Okay. Now, in earlier episodes, we talked about the dollar per point figure. Okay. How much does a point cost? And I believe we came out at something like 12,730 roughly is the starting dollar per point figure this year. So if we take Lindsay Collins, 463K, he averaged 36.4 last year. We take his 463,000, we divide it by 36.4, and we're getting, close to that 12,730 figure. Yep. So that's basically the value of a point starting out. Now, what you want to be doing is finding players that are priced better than that. So if we've got a player that's 463K, but he's likely to be averaging 45, we're only paying $10,288 a point. Okay, that's the value I'm talking about, and that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying buy cheap points. Now, buying cheap points doesn't mean it has to be a cheap player. Um, you're going to get a lot of points out of a particular up and coming forward this year that everybody should know about, and somehow still 55, 60% people don't have in their team. Okay, if you work out the dollars per point on him, it's going to be very cheap, and you're still going to be getting premium points. So that's what I want you to be thinking about: buying points, not players. Let's have a look at one player you definitely should not be starting with. Okay. If you happen to already use our site, then you're getting used to our team builder now. You know how easy our site makes it. If you haven't been on our site, it's another reason to be considering it. Our site makes building a team like this extremely easy. If we go to Payne Haas on our site, he's already up there. We can see that he's priced at 74.6. We're projecting him to score 75.7. That gives him a projected dollars per point of 12,708. So we already have this based on our own projections for everyone in our system. Okay, let's have a look at Herbie Farnworth. Now, if you're paying for Herbie Farnworth, you're buying 62.9 points. You're paying for his output of last year. Now, his output of last year was off the charts. It's extremely hard for him to go north on what was just such an absolute outlier season. He's the first centre ever to break 60 points a season over a full year. Okay. We have him projected to come down a little bit to about 56.5. At best, he maintains that 62.9. With the scoring variance of centres, he's likely to be dropping dollars, not being able to week by week hit that exact number all the time. Anyway, okay, these are the reasons why I don't think you should buy Herbie Farnworth, because there's no early value in him. Okay? There are other players you can spend less than $800,000 on that are going to give you pretty close to the same points. Yeah. Okay. His projected dollars per point, we have it about 14,159, which is a little bit overs. Okay. So again, this is what really want to stress to you. Think about buying points, not buying players at this point in time. Think about how much a point those points are costing you. If you want to use a system like ours, it makes it easy. If you want to do it some other way, that's fine, but follow the principle, have a good idea. So what I want you to do, instead of this idea of starting with the expensive players, working your way down, I want you to make one choice first off, Cleary or Haas. Pick one of them. Okay, if you want to go Haas, but pick one of them. There is no other player in the game that's worthy of being captain other than Terrell May, and there's no guarantee Terrell May's minutes don't come down a little bit. Okay. Um, and the other thing is May has a buy round one anyway. So really you have to be buying one of those two. From there, instead of thinking about the gun players, I want you to start filling your team up from the bottom up, from the best value players you can get upwards. So if you think Bakasini is going to be a starting, um, starter for the Tigers, then he'd be one of the first you put in. Okay, you take players like Josh Paxton. Josh Paxton is one of the best value players you can get. Okay, want you to fill your team up with those guys. As you're doing that, the average amount of spend that you have left per player, and again, this is something that's easier on our site. You start off with an average of around 476,000 a player that you can spend. As you start filling your team up with good value players, that's going to start going north. Okay. Then at the back end of your team building, you're going to have money there to start buying better, more gun type players. But again, look for the gun players that have early upside, that have strong early value. Buy the ones like Herbie Farnworth that are probably at cost or maybe even overpriced later and cheaper. That's pretty much all I've got for you today. I'm not going to be going into which players to get. I'm not going to do a dirty on our subscribers for the work we've done. If you want our angles on players, then, by all means jump on our platform. But, if you don't want to use our platform, that's fine. But the same principles apply. And these are the principles that are followed by the people that consistently go very, very strongly at NRL fantasy. Best of luck for the season. We'll catch you soon.